Hello and welcome back to Arsenal Domination. Just wanted to do a quick lunchtime video before I get back to work on uh, the views and musings of David Ornstein of The Athletic in the last few hours. We all know that Arsenal need an extra forward. We said so in the summer, um, and we can see it's apparent now with Arsenal's issues in attack. I've also spoken a lot about mitigating circumstances this season. The injuries, the unfortunate decisions. Um, but there is also, and we have to be completely fair here, some issues at Arsenal have caused themselves. Mikel Arteta slightly with tactics. It's been too slow, too ponderous, too often, and the fact that we didn't get that forward in the summer that was important. Arsenal have an opportunity to address this in January, and David Ornstein was talking about this, and he essentially said that that he felt there was some money to do business in this window, um, but that some of that might be predicated on exits. I think there what he's talking about is if a defender were to leave, Arsenal would replace them, for instance, or a midfielder. But that there was some money to do some business, but he was indicating that that was quite a limited amount. I've always maintained that Arsenal probably have a maximum of £50 million to spend in this window to ensure they continue to comply with FFP. Because despite making a small profit of about £20 million this summer, they spent close to £250 million loss over the previous two, and PSR, of course, is a 3-year window. PSR is more than just transfers, of course, but that is a significant issue to overcome when you're looking at the finances, which is why I do get slightly irritated with calls about the Conkies just need to put money in their pocket, because they do still have to comply with those rules. It's not a simple question of, here, how much do you want? But let's say that £50 million is there. I think Arsenal would be letting the manager down quite spectacularly if they were not to try and help him, support him, get that forward in. We've seen in recent years him want forwards and not necessarily get them. And when you look at Edu's reign, I think Edu's reign has been better than some people say it is when he was director of football. I think a lot of the transfers worked when you look in the context of when they were bought. I think if you look at the last few windows, I think it's too early to judge this one yet. But if you look at the previous three, I think it would be probably only Fabio Vieira is the ultimate fail. Jesus, you could argue, but I can't put that one on Edu. That sort of changed once he got the knee injury, and that funding was necessary to raise Arsenal up to where they are, and where they're competing for money. This window is more about the circumstances around this season. Arsenal let themselves down by not getting that forward in, and the injuries are now meaning it is imperative that they do, because they are still in with a chance of winning 4 competitions. Carabao Cup now incredibly difficult, league still very difficult given the gap, but is still in theory on. But I don't think it's on at all if Arsenal don't get that forward in. We've seen lots of links with players coming in. And David Ornstein was again reporting on this. So I've dealt with the financials. This is now the signing side. And he was saying that Arsenal are essentially looking at players, they're looking at options. They rightly only want to sign the right option rather than the wrong option. And I think that's something I can get on board with. You don't want to be lumbered with the wrong player. I think some of the links that we're seeing, and we're seeing a lot of them, are either too expensive and therefore probably be on the summer link. Alexander Isak, for instance, or are players that don't necessarily want to move. I'm going to use Zubimendi as an example here. I think he's been fairly clear that he wants to stay at Sociedad till the end of the season, but I suspect he will be ripe for a move in the summer. It's not a forward, but it gives you no idea. But equally, this market has become an easier market for forwards than it probably was in the summer. Nico Williams, he's had struggles for Athletic Club this season, despite Athletic Club actually doing quite well. Possibly becoming more of an option now. We've seen that players like Mbermo not going to sign new contracts. The chap from Napoli, the Georgian, whose name I can't pronounce, but I will have a go, which is Kishvili, something like that. PSG target potentially now. There's Marmoush, who I personally not too worried about Arsenal signing. I think we've got that in Kai Havertz, and we want something a bit different. Again, another option, and these players seem more ripe now than they were in the summer. But David Ornstein was suggesting that Arsenal, as a club, seem reluctant to back Arteta in this window and are keeping their powder dry for the summer. And I think if they do that, they are really letting the manager down. He has shown that he wanted forwards for dating back to when we tried to sign Mudryk, and I know we got Trossard in. So I think he will be pushing hard for this, and I think, given the injury situation, given the fact that we can get plenty of options in, Arsenal really are letting them down if we don't. I'll be very disappointed if we don't do anything. I understand, where are we? 9th of January. That we haven't seen a signing come in yet, because big signings of the quality and that we want and require do take some time, particularly in this window when it's harder for clients to get an alternative because matches are coming thick and fast. And therefore, the deals that are done tend to be lesser deals from sort of smaller clubs to bigger clubs. I'm thinking about the Tottenham goalkeeper as their sort of perfect example of that. But Arsenal can't afford to hang around much longer. If you get to sort of midway through January and you still haven't done it and the deal doesn't look imminent, it's going to be a big problem for Arsenal. There's 9 games this month, and they do need to get them done. But that's not all on the manager. That's got to be on the club. And I do worry. The report that David Ornstein basically said that he expects now, despite these links and despite Arsenal wanting to get things done, but they're not going to bring forward their summer transfer plans, and they are going to get by with what they have. What they have is one short, and what they have is even more short, given Odegaard still struggling post that injury he picked up earlier this year. He's one of our best players, and Saka, also one of our best players, could be out for the season. That limits the options that Arteta has, and it limits his ability to fix things. And I think the club would have to take a long, hard look at themselves if they don't back him in this window and we end up trophyless. I think it would provide Arteta a legitimate excuse if he doesn't get things done. Now, he needs to improve things, and as I've said constantly, he can't complain if he does lose his job at the end of the season if we're trophyless. But this would not be helping him to achieve that. It would not be putting Arsenal in the best situation, when I still think that there is legs in Arsenal this season if they can get a little boost, because I don't think Liverpool look as solid as people think they are. I've always felt that, and particularly if Salah were to get injured, I think the league title is really back on. But that means Arsenal improving, and Arsenal do need to improve. But also we need to get the manager some help to help them improve. So hopefully David Ornstein is wrong. My concern is that he's often quite right, and I suspect Arsenal are attempting to get by with what they have, and that is not good news for Mikel Arteta. It is not good news for Arsenal, and it is not good news for the fan base. So I really hope that we will see a change in that stance, and that one of these players that I think are more attainable now, as I was speaking about earlier, can be brought in. I'm hoping it's Brian Mbeumo. I think that sort of feels about right. 18 months plus potentially 1 year extension. I think it's club controlled, but it might be player controlled. He feels like something that could be got done. He would be my number one target. Has been for a while. Brentford aren't going to Europe, and they're not going down. Maybe they could be persuaded to cash in while his price is at its highest. Who knows? Anyway, please, Arsenal, do get something done. Please back this manager. I still believe this squad and this manager can get something done and win things, but it's going to need the board's help. Equally, I do understand that it's not going to be Isak, that we don't have that money in this window, and that won't be available till the summer. But hey, let's see where we are. I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks. Bye.